I was gonna say cosmic. We are out of Mercury retrograde, by the way, for those of y'all that's wondering. Actually out of the shadow period, post-shadow period of retrograde. But I want to welcome y'all to the channel. And this is actually going to be the last I put out on YouTube. If you want to catch me, you can catch the link down below. I will be posting from now on from the Substack channel, and eventually, hopefully, a more decentralized route. So if you want to come through and follow, you can definitely check that out with the link down below. Also, 2 personal readings. I will also still be doing personal readings as well, and I'll also still be teaching and doing all the regular things, just on a different platform. And you can check all that information out down below as I post. I am recording this live, but I'm not going to be dropping this till when, of course, if you're not here already, you'll see it sometime either this weekend or next week. So yeah, we are talking about the eclipses. We are talking about the Saturn retrograde that is coming in on September 1st. The eclipses will have in Pisces on the 1st, which is the Pisces blood moon eclipse, and then we'll have the Virgo eclipse in 3rd, roughly, you want to say September 22nd, 3rd, around that time. So yeah, this is going to be a pretty intense September. Intensity doesn't necessarily always have to be a bad thing, but I'm going to say right now, it's not necessarily all the way subtle. All right. I recently had my birthday last week. And just from that, you know, I could feel like the shift and things that were happening. And it was good. Like, my shit was a kiss. Okay. Very, very beautiful energy around the birthday front. But I think energetically, I could feel beyond celebration into a new year. I just felt like something was so different than, I guess, the energetic essence of what I experienced previously. You know, new things are forming. I want y'all to really look back to see what was happening in your life from 2015 to 2017, because that's the last time we had the nodes on the Pisces and Virgo axis. We also had the last time we had Saturn and Pisces was March 2023. Okay, so we're retrograding back into those times. So look back to see what was happening. This is not an all signs video, so I'm not gonna go into each rising sign per se. I just want to talk about the energy that's surrounding these endings, if you will. Pisces being the end, right? Or the culmination point of all 12 zodiac signs into one. And what that means, what I guess you could say evolution that's happening within, right? Pisces being the subconscious, Pisces being the energy of like our dreams, our past lives. It also has to do with our spiritual capacities and capabilities. We can talk about addictions. We could talk about the spiritual realm in itself, dreams, and all those good things, you know, here. I also, too, especially if we're talking about like the body, we talk about the feet with Pisces. You know, I've talk about, you know, making sure you get a foot, but it's deeper than that. Like, I think of Pisces, the feet, or even if we're talking about the essence of Pisces itself, the 2 fish going in 2 different directions. I look at this energy as like getting planted and getting grounded. And I know it's water, right? But we're on this axis of Virgo, right? And this energy is finding the balance between this material realm and also the spiritual realm, right? And what that means, what that looks like. And also, too, when we're talking about even Saturn and Pisces and the essence of this energy, right? Pisces, we talk about this dreamy, like, it's like the water Gemini. It kind of floats into the water, you know, and it kind of has all these ideas, and it's very creative and very expressive in its own right, and also very romantic as well. But we have this energy that can be, you know, it's kind of floaty, and it doesn't necessarily always have the capacity to ground itself in anything because it's mutable water. It doesn't have form, right? It's like a shapeshifter, right? It shifts into many different things. So when I think about that on top of Saturn and Pisces, Pisces is the energy of Capricorn and Aquarius. right? This is like what we like to call deeper than just Big Daddy Saturn, Big Daddy Saturn, Big Daddy Capricorn, right? This is like making those dreams into a reality, and not in a cheesy way, like, you know, it's like, oh, you gotta make your dreams real. No, it's deeper than that. It's like, if I could see it, Pisces is the vision. If I could see it in my mind, then I can actually make it into something real and grounded in this material realm, which Saturn wants to help Pisces do. But this is going to be a test, right? Retrograde, this energy is going to be a test. Are you going to do the things you say you want to do, right? Like, I'll use myself for an example. And I won't even say, are you going to do the things? Because, I mean, I went for it, you know. I would just talk about the essence of a little bit of like what was happening in my life at 2015 to 2017, just a little bit, you know. So during the 2015 to 2017 period, I had just recently graduated college, and I ended up moving to, where did I end up moving? I ended up moving. Let's just say I ended up moving. And I would say the essence of this energy was me breaking away from corporate America, because I was working at that time. I was in corporate America, and I was just so unhappy with working. You know, it wasn't like my workplace was bad or anything like that. I actually really got along with everybody that I worked with and everything, and it was cool, but it was soul crushing because it wasn't what I wanted to do. My heart wanted to do something beyond the 9 to 5, right? Like going to work, coming home, all that kind of stuff was driving me insane. It was driving me crazy. Actually, you know what's crazy? Like around the same time, now that I think about it, that's when I started A Rainy Storm. Like now that I think about it, I'm like, wait a minute, yeah. Actually, to 2015, yeah, to 2017 is when I actually started astrology, like really getting deeper into astrology. Now that I think about it, I think, yeah, it's crazy. Hey y'all. So that's one thing I could definitely say. But yeah, I transitioned from working like, you know, in the corporate whatever, and then I ended up going to go off and do other things. So at this point I was like DJing. So basically it was like the switch from like this I guess earthly groundy type of energy into this like very creative, you know. I was creating my own radio show. You know, I was experimenting with different music and creating my own music. Oh, you know, behind the scenes type stuff things. I think, yeah, that was actually when I fully came into like my sexuality as a lesbian. You know, I started BLA. Like I was really coming to full form. I feel like during 2015, like where I was breaking off from this traditional sense of how I had to live my life. You know, I remember like recollections of like, you know, hearing people be like, oh, why don't you just go and find a real job? Or why don't you go and find a real this? And why don't you go find a real that? You know, basically like the dreams that I had that I wanted to live were just not in, you know, some people's minds are just like, it wasn't based in reality. It was like, you know, maybe in another lifetime you could do something like that, but here we working. That was kind of like the energy that was given. I was just like, I don't want to live this life. So you know, I didn't really have much, you know. I just, from what I can remember, I probably packed like a little suitcase or something like that. And yeah, I was off, you know. And so my whole life completely changed after that. That was like, I feel like that was like the phase 1 of me completely doing things completely different than what I was used to or what I had been told to do or maybe suggested to do in that time of my life. So it was a very like whirlwind. I didn't really have any footing. I didn't really have any grounding. Like, yeah, your girl was all over the place. I ain't gonna lie. I was really all over the place. I was traveling a lot too at that time during that 2017 thing. But I felt like I was starting to really embody my essence. Like that was like the seeding. Not to say I haven't always been myself, because I definitely feel like I've always been me, right? But like this was like okay, now we're like maybe the things that have been buried underneath the surface due to, you know, X, Y, and Z, right? So that's what was happening in my life. Now the Saturn in Pisces retrograde definitely was around because, you know, as a Pisces rising, in Western astrology at least, this was a time of personal boundaries. I'm not going to get too deep into what happened. Woo, that was Saturn retro. I mean, and this was like right after Saturn return, right? So, this was like right after that Saturn Aquarius return. And then Saturn immediately went into Pisces. It was, let's just say that my personal boundaries at this time of my life, I had to really develop strong personal boundaries because, I was just doing the most. And I was like, okay, after this part of my life, we need to take a little step back, right? If the energy isn't given what it's supposed to give, then you need to go ahead and step on back, and we need to stop playing these games. Okay, so it was more so about personal boundaries, and I think especially when we're talking about the energy of Pisces, it can be very boundless, right? There's no boundaries. It's just very fluid. It doesn't have it's literally the only zodiac sign that cannot defend itself. It's a fish. I mean, unless you hide in a hole, and I'm not saying that, because Pisces spiritually, let's not get it twisted. I'm just talking about the archetype in itself as a fish. So it doesn't have any defenses that can maybe it can buck at you a couple times, but it don't have no defenses unless it hides into a hole, right? And so I think, or what I'm trying to say is, just with those experiences, if you could take yourself back, even if you want to take a little quick minute to really think about what was happening in your life during this time. And hold on, y'all. Miss Ma'am's trying to be the main character. Hold on 1 second. Let me open this up again. Listen. Hold on. I need you open so I can have some light, Mama. Just a little bit. I'm almost done. I got this beautiful curtain. I got a beautiful, beautiful curtain. I love curtains, y'all. I love, I'll show y'all a picture of it one of these days, but beautiful, beautiful curtain. It's purple and it got this brownish kind of, it's beautiful. It's actually you could wear it over your body, but I made it into a curtain because it's so big and long. It's like a curtain blanket-ish kind of, I don't know what to call it, but it's beautiful. Anyway, so yes, excuse me, Mama. Look back to what was happening at that time because it'll tell you a lot of those parallels. Now, again, going back to the ending, right? I think also as you're asking yourself, okay, let me be reflective, what was going on in my life during this time. I also want y'all to get very clear as to okay, well, what am I actually going to be starting at this time? Because if something has to end, then there's also something that has to begin. So what area is Pisces and Virgo, this axis, being activated into your life? Where is Pisces and Virgo being activated into your world? You could definitely leave a comment down below and let me know what was going on in your life at this time, what was happening, either or Saturn retrograde in Pisces around that March 2023, or if you want to talk a little bit about what was going on in your life from 2015 to 2017 during the Pisces Virgo axis, you can also talk about that too. But this is not, okay, let me not say this is not the time because I ain't trying to tell you what to do because I don't like nobody telling me what to do. But this is a time, I should say, okay? This is a time to really get very clear. Y'all, I know I've talked about it many times before, but the world is changing, right? I know we have a lot of talk about Piscean energy and the idea of its floaty mutability, its nature of being ever shifting and ever changing. Right now, currently, we have the North Node in Pisces, right? And then we have the South Node in Virgo. So this axis of these also going in flow, right? Pisces is about the flow and not necessarily having everything, not necessarily having everything together or not having everything with a plan, leaving room for spontaneity, leaving room for things not to necessarily work out as a plan, or being able to pivot quickly if you need to. You're on a current and then you have to, quickly move around and do something else or do something different or do something new, being on that pivot. I don't know why now I'm thinking I've just said pivot, like somebody playing basketball or something like that, and they have to pivot on their foot and go a different direction, and they juke somebody and then they, make it for the three. So keeping yourself on your own toes, with Pisces ruling the feet, but also telling yourself, okay, if things aren't going according to plan, then that means that path is trying to lead me to something different, or the path is trying to open up something else for me to explore. And I think that's exciting. Me personally, I there's a part of me that, I think it's a good balance of, having a quote unquote plan, or at least an idea of a scope. But I also love the idea of leaving ourselves open to newness and things that just kind of come out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, dang, I didn't see that coming, but I like this. And it's actually better than what I was expecting for it to be. You know what I'm saying? It's actually better than what I originally thought that it could be, by just keeping myself open. You know what I mean? I do think also too, this axis has a lot to do with our ancient roots, right? The Pisces Virgo axis. A lot of times we get caught up in the mundane astrology, for Virgo being just the routine, and Virgo being just the cleanliness and the organization and service to everybody else with themselves. This it gets me hot, it gets me tight. It gets me tight, because that's just not what Virgo's about, y'all. Y'all, it's more than that, okay? It's way more than that. This is alchemy, right? When you get to that sixth house, when you get to the essence of Virgo, it's not only purification or things being quote unquote perfect. It's called alchemy, right? When we go from the 1 to the 6, which is Aries to Virgo, to Virgo all the way to Pisces, to 6 to 12, the 1 to 6 is the first half of your life, right? The bottom of your chart, the 1 to 6 is like from the time that you were born, all right, your rising sign, and then you go through all those houses, fourth, being on that home to home, and then 6 is like, okay, what have you learned from this experience, right? And then as you go through that 6th house, or that energy of Virgo, then you start to be like, okay, and you apply that knowledge to the rest of your chart. When you go out into the world and you're doing other things into the world, you can apply what you have learned, and you can alchemize your experiences, okay, into the world. This is also a place of introspection, right? This is also a beautiful place of introspection, and not only of what I've learned, but how can I apply those things that I've learned as well here too. I can also sit with those things that I've learned and ask myself, well, what have they taught me? How have I grown from these things? And not in a place where you're like spiraling to get stuck, but so the next time that you run into these situations, or you're trying to figure something out or whatever, you can take what you have learned from that particular experience. And also, not only that, spiritually, all right? This is the spiritual access, Pisces and Virgo, okay? This is the difference between living in the material realm and living in the spiritual realm. But they both live in the spiritual realm. But one is more of in the earth essence of it, and the other one is more in the spiritual dreamland essence of it, right? It's the in-between, right? They go in between each other, right? And so I think when we were talking, I know in a couple lives ago, a couple months back, we were talking about like ancestor veneration, right? No, not for all ancestors. All right, I'm gonna keep putting this out here, because not every ancestor you meant to connect with. Some ain't all for the best. Some ancestors that ain't all in the same wave and on the same page. All right, so just keep that in mind. What I am saying is, this is a great time if there are some gifts and knowledge or abilities that you find yourself very drawn to for some reason, that you keep coming back to for some reason, that keep appearing in your life for some reason, okay? Maybe lean more into it, maybe doing some calling in of like, could you help me kind of dive a little bit deeper? If that's something that you're ready for, could you help me dive a little bit deeper into that? This is also a time of cutting out, okay, of the severing, I would even say the ties of basically ancestral curses, generational curses and cycles that have been maybe following you for, different lifetimes and things. So I think this is like something, for example, of somebody who has lived in a family dynamic where maybe they were, like there was abuse happening and this is all different types of abuse, right? And these things were happening throughout the generation, or these things were happening throughout the cycles the bloodline, right? And so you're coming in and saying, okay, actually, after me, I'm going to do things a little bit differently. You know, if I decide that I want to have a tribe, or if I want to bring children into the world, whatever that looks like for you, doesn't have to be those things, but just for an example, I'm going to choose to do things a little bit differently than what I've seen, right? I'm going to choose, I'm making a choice to do something now differently than what I have seen and the things that I have grown up in. I'm choosing to do those things. So this is the cycle where you say, enough is enough, and now I want to do something completely different than what I've seen, and completely different than what I've experienced as well. So these are just some of the little things that you can see with this eclipse season that we're moving back into, retrograding. This will be here, the Pisces, Saturn and Pisces retrograde will be here until February of 2026. Keep that in mind, okay? Keep that in mind, you know, because if you start to feel like, wait a minute, didn't I see? Oh, okay. Yeah, till February 2026. Keep that in mind. And then also for this, you know, Pisces, I would say not this Pisces, but this, what am I trying to say? This eclipse season that we have coming up in September. If things are falling out of your life, it's because they're meant to. Do not try to force the current, baby. Just keep flowing with the current. If it's something that falls out of your life at this time, or whatever house or whatever houses it's making a connection to, wherever this eclipse is landing for you, just know that it's not meant to be in your life anymore. It's clipped, all right? It's clipped. All right, especially for this first eclipse that's coming up in Pisces. It's the end. It's the literal end. The end of a new beginning, because again, we're North Node in Pisces, eclipse is the end of said thing, right? Now, when we talk about the Pisces, or the Virgo, this is interesting too, because this is like a new cycle, but it's also going to be with Mercury, right? It's also going to be with Mercury in Virgo, and it's also going to be with the South Node in Virgo, which is usually what has been being either integrated or something that is being taken away, so it can be replaced with something new. So I would just say, watch, like, as you are going through these things, also be an observer as to what is happening around you. Who is coming into your life? Who is leaving your life? What are some of the themes that are coming back up in September on, especially as we move through February? What are some of like the themes that are coming up for you? I would even say to journal. I'm gonna say it's coming on. I would even say to journal at this time, if you can, if it's on your heart to do, in whatever type of way, video, audio, writing, making music, making art, whatever the case may be. Those are some of the things that can definitely be coming up for you at this time. I will kind of leave this here. I do want to say that I have been inspired heavily it's something that I said I wanted to do, but I haven't necessarily started on it. I think I know for me, especially as we are in this North Node in Pisces, especially as an artist, I've been, and I know I've been talking about this for those of you that have been on past lives, but really wanting to step out as an individual artist. And I think that's one of the things that have been coming up for me as well during this time. And so one of the things that I am going to be challenging myself to do, now I can't say it's going to be like week for week, whatever, but I've been talking about creating my own tarot card deck for years now. In and out. I said eventually I'll start it, whatever. But I have recently met someone who actually created their own. It was actually an oracle deck. And then I've had these conversations in the past about creating like a tarot deck and things. So yeah, I think I'm going to start with the major arcanas, because I know we haven't really talked to when I first started YouTube. It's so funny, as I said, we coming back into this energy. I was doing tarot. And then it wasn't until I think 2020 is when I actually started doing like talking all about just astrology without the tarot. Well, you know, I would go back and forth to the tarot. I was doing animal medicine and all that kind of stuff. But I really want to get deeper into tarot. I actually left my tarot cards and oracle deck when I moved So, you know, now I'm being introduced to new oracle cards. Not necessarily, no, more so oracle cards than anything, as gifts and stuff. So, yeah, I think I'm going to be starting my own deck, and I wanted to kind of share the stories of me creating them and also talking about the tarot that goes with the decks as well. So you'll be seeing like little pieces. Like I said, I'm not trying to rush the process. Like every week we're gonna have like no, but I do as I go want to show you some of the pieces that I've been working on as I work through the decks. And I'm saying this out loud so everybody can hold me accountable. Like, hey crew, I thought you said, or hey Rainstorm, I thought you said you're gonna have some decks coming along. Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna just put it out there in the open so y'all know. But other than that, you know, you already know what it is. Please leave me in the comments down below. Like I said, what was that experience from 2015 to 2017? Also, let me know what was happening during that Saturn retrograde in Pisces, March 2023. I would love to hear what y'all got to say. Like I said, after this video drops, there will be no more YouTube. All right, I will be strictly on Substack. And when this video actually officially drops, for those of you guys on the live, hey, what's up? For those of you guys looking at it after the live has already dropped, yeah, follow me on Substack at that link below, and we'll be doing the videos for the rest of the time from there. I also do have, again, personal readings. I actually need to update my little Teen Kiana, but I do have personal readings also available as well too. So if you're interested in that, you can definitely hit me up. And probably later on in September, I'm probably going to end up doing another class. I'm not exactly sure which class I want to do, like what group class I want to do, but I know I missed the last one. So I'm like, ooh, what thing? So if y'all have a class or something that y'all want to know more about or dive deeper into, I have a couple of things in mind. I just haven't locked down which one I actually want to talk about. But if y'all have anything on your heart that you would like me to teach in the future or talk a little bit more about in the future, please let me know. And I would love to, I would love to, you know, talk a little bit more about it and things with y'all in a class, more so like a personal class versus like live and stuff like that. So yeah, you already know what it is. I wanted to keep this short, sweet, and cute. I hope everybody's doing good. I hope everybody's doing well. I will see y'all soon. I'm gonna be checking out without a doubt. Deuces.